Welcome to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing experts Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin, powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
And welcome back to another episode of Search Talk Live. I'm Robert O'Haver, your host. With me is my co-host, Caleb McKelvin. Caleb?
Hey, what's going on, Robert?
Not much. Welcome back for another great episode. We've got some great guests so far, and going to continue to keep having them, knock on wood, hopefully.
Yeah, no, we got an awesome show for you today. However you're listening, we definitely appreciate you tuning in, whether that's through searchtalklive.com, iHeartRadio, Sprecher, several options for you. But yes, thank you for tuning in today. At any point, if you want to re-listen to this show, you can go to searchtalklive.com, check everything we have out there, re-listen to this show, and check out what we have upcoming in the next few weeks.
Yeah, also, don't forget to sign up to our mailing list. Because some of our guests, they give away freebies and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. We've had books giveaway.
A lot of stuff.
Memberships, all kinds of stuff.
Free trials, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you'd be the first to know if you sign up to that mailing list.
Yes.
And you can also listen to us on iTunes.
Yep.
And Sprecher. What else? Oh, iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio, man. We are on iHeartRadio. You can actually go to iHeartRadio and I believe in the search bar, search Talk, and we will come up and you can check us out. We are pretty much 24/7 on that thing.
We are 24/7. The only thing is, if you live outside the U.S., for some reason iHeartRadio blocks the IP address. I found this out from someone in Ireland that was trying to listen to us on iHeart and found out that the site's actually blocked from the IP address. This is weird.
Oh, well.
Why would you do that?
Yeah. Go to searchtalklive.com and you can listen to all our shows. But today we have an excellent show for you with a very seasoned guest, knows what he's talking about. We have David Harry with us today. David, how are you doing?
Good, other than the fact I'm feeling old all of a sudden. Seasoned. What are you putting me in the oven soon?
I tried to use the right word for it.
Yeah, you kind of stopped there for a second and went,
Yeah, you kind of look back. But, hey, we'll roll with the punches
and
with
you have to add to that. It's David Harry of SEO Training Dojo.
The SEO Training Dojo. Yes.
.com.
Yeah. But we appreciate you joining us, David. If you could, for our listeners, just kind of explain, kind of tell us a little about who you are, what you do, what you're all about.
Yeah, okay. I'm seasoned, which means, I guess, well, we started a web development company back in 98. I guess I started doing SEO itself around 2000. So, 16 or so years. The dojo, as we mentioned, SEO Training Dojo, we started a community for other professionals about 2010, I guess. Myself, it's general SEO all the way. Then once Google started pooping on everybody, I started doing a lot of forensic work. So that's kind of fixing sites and problems of that nature, and pretty much everything in between. Done, mom and pops, mid-sized businesses, corporate stuff, everything, over the last 16 years, pretty much touched everything there is to touch. So
very cool. I kind of want to actually let you expand on that, the SEO Training Dojo. I think that's a really cool thing you'll have going on. If somebody wanted to learn more about that or know what y'all are all about with that, if you could expand on it or how they can learn more about that.
Well, easy enough. Yeah, you can go to the site, or, of course, we're all quite approachable, so you can track me down at the Gypsy on Twitter. Anywhere, Facebook, you can find me, track me down and hop on Skype, talk for a while. It's kind of a closed door thing. It's not like anyone can just walk in and join, folks. Basically, it's like the mafia of the SEO. You need to know somebody literally. Well, we had so much drama in the early years, okay?
Yeah.
And with an SEO community, it's always difficult, because the more seasoned folks, the more seasoned guys don't want to sit around and have a lot of, spammers or new, certain level of people that can just pay $30 and walk in the doors. So we kind of stopped that, so we can control it. So essentially, you either get to know me or you are sponsored by another member who brings you in. That's the mafia angle. That way, if you mess up, I get to blame them. So,
very nice.
But we're on forums. We've got. It's interesting. Search communities have grown, and I think communities in general, that we decided to be where people are, meaning, we have people that hang out in our private Facebook group and they talk there and they hardly ever go to the site. There's people that go to the site, don't go to the Facebook group. Same thing on G+, Twitter, etc. So we created these private communities on various social networks so that wherever we are, where everyone else, where people are, we go to you, they don't come to us.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah, so the thing we're going to talk about today, I think it's really important. I've seen quite a bit mistakes in this area, and I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about website redesign. There's a lot of websites out there that they're just old school, need to be updated for mobile, maybe mobile-friendly user experience, whatever the reason may be. But there's some steps you really got to take before you do this, or you can just basically end your business overnight. Without taking these steps. So we're going to talk about that. And David, you want to start off on that?
Yeah. Again, this will come down to a couple different areas. And I think, firstly is the type of site. Is it a mom and pop? Is it a small business, medium-sized corporate?
Right.
Each one of those type of situations is going to have different requirements. The corporate stuff, it could take 6 months to get anything pushed through.
Right.
Mom and pop, you can turn on a dime. And, that becomes the first issue. The next becomes the type of site, obviously. Is it e-commerce? Do you have 10,000 products, or is it a blog and you've got 400 pages? Correct. So all of that starts to weigh in. And, of course, why are we making the changes? Why are we redesigning? Why are we redeveloping? Yeah. In a corporate structure, you've got the social team chiming in, you've got the content team chiming in, you've got the SEO team chiming in, and so as an SEO, if you're working with a corporate team in house or something of that nature, you're going to have to go buy everybody lunch, take everyone, find all the department heads, take them all out to lunch. That's the first step.
Right.
Or jump in front of a really big whiteboard.
Yeah, because you want to get all those teams on board, and vice versa, even the development team. You know what I mean? And you're going to get that. And I think that goes through even the smaller stuff is you have to push for what you want. Like many times developers don't always have the knowledge, at least SEO-wise. We could talk conversions and other stuff. But SEO-wise, the development team might, sit there and say to an owner, well, you don't have to worry about that. And the owner will buy that. Like we've seen small businesses make that mistake. Yeah. I get brought in on those kind of things, and I'm on actually one right now, but I don't get brought in to do all the steps. They just said, okay, Dave, we want to hire you as a consultant, work with our developer, work with our content person, because it's a 4-man team, It's a small business. So basically I'll just go in and talk to them at the beginning of the process, the middle of the process, and I'll look at everything at the end of the process and make recommendations. So if you're a small business, do something like that. You don't have to hire an SEO to come in and, spend $4,000 on some guy to come in and do all this fancy stuff. Hire someone that could just come in and look over stuff before you put it live. Yeah. That's a viable option.
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, one thing I'm quite surprised that I see a lot of is a company will go out and hire a designer, and then they'll create this beautiful looking website, and then
no SEO.
Well, that too, but when it comes to redesign, these people, the developers don't even think about 301 redirects. Yeah, they just go, okay, let's take the old site down, put the new one up.
Right. It just looks great.
But they literally don't think about anything. And that's a designer. I'm not talking developers. Yeah. It's slightly different, but even then. Right. Yeah. No, they're not looking at anything but how pretty it is, like you said. Yeah. And the unfortunate part is that it's in the eye of the beholder, as they say.
Form over function.
Yeah, I always tell my clients, I have clients that I'm a retainer to, and they'll come to me and say, should we make this design change or that design change? I'm like, I don't know. Let the customer tell us. Right. So, even with a corporate one I'm on right now that's we're relaunching shortly, we're split testing the old homepage against the new one. Right. Right? Who knows? You don't know. Never make that assumption, and designers like to do that. They'd like to make that assumption that they know that this is what is going to look good. At the end of the day, we only know by conversions. If it's sign-ups, if it's selling products, whatever it is, that's going to tell you. So that's the first thing I think everyone needs to get into, because even on my design side of my company, we have so many people sending change lists on stuff we're working on, and well, I like this and I like that, and I'm like, no, I don't like that. So let's let the customer, the user, decide. Right. And you have to kind of do that, and I think that's important. Designers and developers tend to not have that knowledge SEO wise, and
Yeah.
And that's important, you know. And what's the content team going to need? Are they going to have evergreen content, which is like standalone stuff? Are they going to have FAQ sections? Are they going to have a blog? Okay, what are we going to have? We need that information from the content team so the SEO can sit there and architecturally set things up and then pass that to the developers. It becomes that chain of command no matter what level you're working on.
Right.
Yeah, and even with the designer, you still have running the issue. You have this beautiful site, but the user experience is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, so it doesn't cross-pollinate.
Right. Absolutely.
So to speak.
Well, Dave, let's look at the actual decision process, because we have a lot of listeners that kind of own their own site, trying to do their own thing. What are the metrics that are going to indicate that, hey, it's time for a site redesign? Like, I need to kind of shift my thinking or take this thing to in a different direction. What can they look at to actually make that decision process and get the ball rolling?
Well, you know, I touched on it briefly, but I think you have to decide, why am I doing this? You know, do I believe it's going to increase conversions or signups or revenues or whatever? Or am I doing this to you know, make a better UX, which is user experience? You know, am I doing it to increase SEO, et cetera, et cetera? So almost sit there, you know, your pen and paper, old school, and go to the pub and sit down with it and really high level write out just those, what am I trying to accomplish? Because all paths lead from there, right?
Right.
You can't just say, well, my Bob next door redesigned his website, so I'm going to. You know,
Right.
You can't just, you need reasons.
Yeah.
And from that, you'll start to get metrics you're talking about, right? And so at that point now, what you want to do is start snapshotting. You know, like the second you decide to start doing this, start finding these metrics and then snapshotting them in your analytics. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that you have all that. It's the same thing when it comes to Google Search Console, like your crawl rates, your 404s, 301s, all that kind of stuff, soft 404s. Record those, because the weird thing about some of the Search Console data is it's only 90 days, right? So in many cases, you know, you're going to lose stuff. If you take 2.5 months to redesign your site, then decide to take your snapshot, you really have a good one.
Right.
So as soon as you start thinking about it, you want to get to Search Console, especially because some of that's 90-day data, and start taking, you know, basically all you can do is download it. Like literally, I have clients that we do this monthly for, is taking snapshots, meaning download the data, put it away, because if something goes wrong down the road, you can compare it to it. So in a redesign, same kind of thing. Right. You want to start taking those snapshots early of everything.
Yeah, and most people don't realize this is not a 1 month thing. This is something that really needs to take you need to take time in planning, you know, looking at the site map, you know, making sure every aspect of that site is covered. And like you mentioned, A/B test, split test, multivariant testing is super important, because you, like you said, you can't just go blindly and just throw up a new page and think it's going to be better. And
you can't trust your own instincts.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, I mean, my instincts don't matter if it doesn't make us money.
Absolutely.
You know, like,
absolutely.
So, you know, you have to take the ego out of it. The designers, the owner, everybody.
Right.
Everyone in the chain has to be focused on one thing, which is we're here to increase usability, revenues. You know what I mean? We're looking at bounce rates, time on page, depth of page crawl, you know what I mean? Depth of page visits. You know, what are these goals? And, you know, you could go on forever. Mm-hmm. Like if you're looking at your analytics and you're like, yeah, the UX must be messed up because people are, you know, they're hitting one page and leaving, or they're only going 2-page scroll. No, I want to know that. So that, fortunately, is forever on Google Analytics. That's not 90-day data, but even then, the day you launch, you want to still be going back and looking at all this. Did that improve? Did this improve? Did it, you know, cause and effect? It's the continuous improvement process. You're always tinkering with the site. So remember we talked about the pub and those high-level things. Yeah. Did these things work out, and how well did they work out? And, you know, if they didn't, how do we fix it? So on and so on. But if you don't have that data before and after snapshots on everything that you're looking to go through, then most certainly you're not going to know if you succeeded or not. You go, well, it looks pretty.
Yeah, right.
I like it.
Even so, after you're done testing that first page, test again against something else, you know, until you get that.
Well, that's a continuous improvement process.
Right.
Even once you come to that final design and you're happy with it, then you do what you were talking about earlier, the multivariate testing. You know, move that buy now button or move that sign up now button, et cetera, et cetera. You want to always learn split and multivariate testing, because regardless if you're redeveloping your site, it's still something that's very useful to you no matter what, because you're always tinkering even once you launch.
Right.
Oh, I'm not letting them have crickets.
no crickets.
You was reaching for the button.
I know. We had to stop him.
I was looking at my notes here. You're listening to Search Talk Live. We're talking with David Harry of SEO Training Dojo.
Yes.
We're talking site redesign and what steps you kind of need to take before you do that site design, so you do not create SEO Harry Carey.
Yeah, right.
Whatever you want to call it.
All over the place.
Yeah, well, okay, so once we're past that whole sort of I'm deciding I'm going to do this and this is why I'm going to do this phase, now you got to get into all the nuts and bolts. Then you get the next issue, which is, are you on a Unix Linux server? Are you on a Microsoft server? Because redirects are going to be the main thing. If it's an established site, obviously, since it's a redesign, it's an established site, so we're interested in redirecting pages, because that's, obviously when you have opportunity to redesign a site, you want to optimize the architecture of the site, flatten it out a bit, because usually most people are too many levels. You want to be looking at URL structures and tweak those as you might.
Yeah.
So anytime you do that, you're looking at 301 redirects. So obviously that's going to be huge. And again, this comes back to the old, how big is the site routine? Is it a lawyer's site with 100 or so pages, or is it an e-commerce site with 10,000 pages?
Yeah,
right.
How you're going to implement the redirects. And again, Microsoft, totally different, because you got HT access on a Unix Linux server. Mm-hmm. So, anything Apache, you're fine. But you start getting into Microsoft, it's a whole different world. You're writing custom scripts and all kinds of other trouble. So that, again, almost creeps back to the high-level stuff. Because, when you're doing that high-level thing, I think we forgot one thing that we should have on that list of things on your paper in your pub is cost.
Yeah.
So because there is a reality of cost versus benefit in any business. So, again, these benefits are going to have a cost, and how much is that cost going to be? You need to plan to have somebody monitoring all this SEO stuff, the 301s, the soft 404s, the 404s, the crawl rates, the indexation. All that stuff needs to be tracked pre and post launch. So keep in mind, folks, include that cost in there. If you don't, you'll be bitten in the butt going, oh, damn.
If you're dealing with multiple people, the SEO really should almost be the kind of the supervisor of the whole project.
You can never say that, because nobody likes that word.
Well, you know what I mean. Just making sure all the
just make sure, if you're the owner of the website, make sure you run everything through your SEO or your marketing guy. Because at the end of the day, folks, you could, we used to call it, this is almost why I started doing more and more marketing stuff with my clients from the web development side, is because it's the tree falls in the forest routine. They've got a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 budget, which is a huge amount of money to a small business, and they blow, 80% of it on the developers and leave nothing for the marketing and the other people. And so you've got a beautiful site, but if no one finds it in a search engine and nobody finds it on social, well, does it exist? That's the question.
So I've had a client that came to me after the fact, after they did the redesign, that the CEO of the company said, hey, let's redesign the website. He hired a designer, got a developer, threw the new site up, took the old one down, no 301 redirects, put them almost out of business. Was completely...
and folks, this is like your auto mechanic. You can pay me now or pay me later.
You're right.
Well, again, I did forensic. You had Alan Blayweiss on back when we met.
Yeah.
I did that kind of work for many a year, and I used to call it the plumbing emergency, because I'm going to charge you a little more than the premium rate when you come to me going, help.
You're right.
So it's going to cost you a little more, so you don't want that. So, so anyways, back to the actual process. Yeah, you want to involve, literally, you would actually bring an SEO sort of in at the beginning and the end of the process, meaning at the beginning you want, before you even go to your developers and people of that nature, sit down with your SEO team or person, have them give you advice and, miniature audit, so to speak, on the architecture itself. And that's how your category, subcategory structure goes, folks. So, the architecture is basically how everything leads out from the homepage. They're going to be the ones to help you with that, because you want page rank to flow smoothly. And these days, any good SEO is pretty good at user experience, so they kind of develop towards that. But you want to bring them at that point, and then, once they give you all these notes and URL structures and the things that need to be done, the 301s, you can hand it off to the developers, let them implement that. And then, 10 days before you're planning on launching, bring that SEO back in, because even 2 weeks, whatever. But you want to give them time to come back and see because developers, and there's always communication issues. So there's going to be things at the end of the process where you're going to want that SEO in.
You're right.
Yeah. And I mean, there's some cases that they might have a nice structure already where in a great scenario would be, you wouldn't have the 301, just recreate that same file name or the page name,
Yeah, you can do that a lot of times. Like a WordPress blog, it's almost, there's a ton of plugins that can do this stuff for you. So that's, if you're, moving to WordPress, it can be a lot easier. But yeah, if the architecture is, passable and I look at it and I go, man, that'll work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to reinvent the wheel because 301 redirects do lose a slight bit of page rank.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really know how much, but
I think eventually it gain it back, but I've seen a lot.
To a degree, I'm not sure. This was the last time was back before Matt Cutts left, and I was talking to him about it, just before he left, and he was saying that there's some slight loss, not a lot.
Yeah.
But if you're keeping everything the same, that's great because then the SEO is focused on heading tags and image alts and all that other good stuff to ensure that everything is optimal there.
Right.
I guess if we go back, well, not going back, but staying in our development process, we'll get to the post process soon. But in the development process, you still come down to this issue of 10,000 pages and so on and so on.
Sure.
You're not going to be able to monitor all those, and that's where you start to and it's a good process anyways. Like first thing I do when I come into most clients, I say, I have people that ask me all the time in the SEO world, how do you do keyword research? I'm like, it's pretty easy. I go to my client, I say, which products make us the most money and which have the highest margins and which are the most popular? Here's my keywords. Done. So I'm not one of those, let's create 20-word keywords. I remember, sorry, I'm going to move. I'll come back. I know exactly where I am. But I'll move a bit here for a second. I remember 15, 20, whatever back in the day. All these SEO companies, we got our client 200 first number one rankings. Yeah, on 20-word sentences. Oh, we increased our client search traffic by 100%. Oh, they had 2 people last month. Did they? Okay. So
we're going for that long tail.
Yeah.
Yeah. So keywords, kind of comes down to that. So when you've got an e-commerce site that's of a larger scale, this process always moves from your most popular products, your products with the highest margins, and focus there first, and you want to prioritize things from that nature, even because, those sites tend to also not have full unique descriptions and titles and so on and so on. You can't with 10,000 products. Some use product feeds, so they're getting, sucked up by the competition who's above them because it's the same text.
Yeah.
So it's that process that even when you're doing this redesign, you still want to be thinking that way. And it'll pay you off down the road because you can always use that list, slowly moving down the list to your most valuable assets to your least valuable. So yeah, if you're in that e-commerce kind of situation, again, you're going to 301 everything, but as far as dealing with monitoring and 404s and things of that nature along the way, you can't do it on 10,000 products. So.
Yeah. Another thing I'd recommend is making a copy of your site. So when you do those 301s, you can test them and make sure they all work.
Yeah.
Oh God. See, you just reminded me of something. Yes, folks, always put it on a development server. And then literally, I wish site owners could do this much, but sadly, because the one I was telling you about, the small businessman, he's a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Got called in to just, sort of watch the process, not really get involved. First meeting I had as developer, have you blocked everything, this and that from Google? I found some stuff, dude, wrong robots? Oh, right. Okay, I'll go do that. Yeah, so put it on a development server, make sure everything's blocked in robots.txt.
Right.
And literally, through your HD access, if you're not on a Microsoft server, you can actually password protect the entire development folder.
Yeah.
Great idea. It's a pain in the ass for, everyone's got to log in to go look at the site during the process, but it keeps Google out of there. I've literally seen developers passing URLs to each other over Gmail. Mm-hmm. Guess what?
Nice.
Google's picking that up. Whoops. And so, yeah, you definitely want to lock down your development server as hard as you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
No index on the pages. No, put it in the robot docs tags, password protected. Just remember to change all that stuff when you bring it live.
I was just going to say that.
I've seen that happen too.
I ran into a site that was redesigned 4 years ago, and they came to us and said, "We're not getting any traffic. We're not getting any traffic." Their entire site was blocked, and I'm like, "Wow, I'm going to look golden."
Yeah, look like a genius.
No, with the Dojo social channels clients, you'd be amazed how many times that happens.
Yeah,
it does. The most obvious goes unnoticed, I guess, sometimes.
Yeah. So I looked like a hero. And like a week later, after the
traffic
site
was flooding.
Yeah, it was flooding with traffic.
So I guess another thing we got to do while we're still in the development process is modern search, at least technologies. Even server, like HTML5 is good for doing the AMP stuff with Google, the active mobile pages.
Yeah.
So, at that point, if you're planning this process, make sure your developer checks your hosting company. Mm-hmm. Do they have the latest PHP installed? Do they have the latest HTML installed? Do they have the things you need moving forward? These are technologies we are going to need down the road.
Yeah.
And if my host doesn't have it, see you later, buddy.
Right.
We're moving somewhere else because we need that. Make sure that that's there.
Yeah, you never want to redesign a site and, put it on a different host or something and it'd be slower. And, you always want to be faster than your previous site, and you want to have mobile friendliness, obviously.
And again, latest MySQL, the latest PHP, the latest, make sure everything's topped up, to ensure that anything you want to do down the road is going to be there.
Yeah.
So, so I guess schema is one thing, certainly valuable these days.
Yeah.
It's funny, we talked before the show about being ahead of the curve. Some things with Google, we tend to be behind the curve, meaning Google tends to throw lots of stuff against the wall and see if it sticks. So sometimes they'll tell us to do something and then change their mind 6 months later.
Yeah.
Schema is definitely going to be something that people can safely use. Like we waited 6 months to a year before advising it.
Yeah.
AMP, which is active mobile pages, definitely something you want to also make sure you're doing, with your mobile design as well. But definitely speed. You want to look into, optimizing speed as far as that goes. Anything you can do there while you're redeveloping. Because you don't, doing stuff like AMP and stuff like schema, you literally, it's like, you're doing it across the whole site. So if you're doing a redevelopment, you got to look at this stuff. And I'd say both of those are things I would be doing at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and using things like, if you're an e-commerce site, using markup for product reviews. And
Canonicals.
Yeah,
definitely got to have your Canonicals. Like if you've got a T-shirt in black and yellow and green and blue, and you don't want to waste crawl budget. How crawl budget works, folks, essentially, is that to a degree, the amount of equity your site has, which is links and things of that nature, kind of dictates often how much your site's crawled and indexed and so on and so on. And that's larger sites. I don't think a small business person's going to have that issue, but it's a consideration. So if you've got Google crawling your black shirt page and your yellow shirt page, and canonical everything to the one.
Right.
If you've got attributes to a product, canonical then.
Especially if the description is the same. Maybe it's a black shirt with a different brand, but
yeah. Well, that's it. You're going to just have a bunch of useless pages.
Correct.
So, that's something, again, if we're doing a site redevelopment, that's something else we'll be looking at as canonicals, things of that nature. Definitely want to get those in there while you're at it. And I think just in general, talk to your SEO, talk to your developers, see what, most recent technology, what's going on now that is a good time to implement this so we don't have to go back and revisit it 6 months from now.
Right. And the way you construct the site too, you want to make sure that if there is something down the road you want to add it, you build the site so that those things are easy to implement.
Well, to bolt on later.
Right.
Again, to small business people, be careful of things, content management systems that aren't known.
Yeah.
OpenCart, great, you're good to go. WordPress, obviously, good to go. The technology you're using, like Joomla used to be a thing, not anymore. So if you're on a Joomla, don't go updating to the next Joomla. Talk to your developers and say, hey, what would this cost to migrate to WordPress? because these days it's a better supported system. So, this is going to be, especially for a small business person, you don't, some developer tells you he's got his own custom CMS. You just locked yourself in, you're done. You got to pay whatever price he gives you for the next 5 years because you're locked into it. So
not only that, if you want to add a new page or something to the site, you have to go to the developer. You can't, like with WordPress, you can go pretty much to, somebody.
Well, you can Google it. You say, how do I do this?
Exactly.
WordPress, how do I do the bam? And there it is. It's like, So, for sure. All right. So I guess I've eaten up half an hour. So post development. So again, this is where you really, 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 really want an SEO guy. Is because post, again, we took all those data points early on before we started. So now once we go live, this is where you watch it like a hawk. It's like babysitting. Like we tend to do them at like 1, 2 in the morning in the region, right? So if it's, the Eastern time in the States or wherever, we'll launch it at 2 in the morning, right? And I'll, we'll be up all night. It's like, you literally, you're up all night watching every crawl, everything. You're going, okay, looks good. Make sure the site maps are all being handled properly and start watching for 404s and so on and so on. You're up all night. The first week is brutal. The first week, you've got to have someone just watching it like a hawk. Then each week, moving out to about week 3, you can, check in once a day or every, so on and so on. Mm-hmm. So you're watching for 404s, obviously. If, any of the redirects didn't happen or something didn't take, you're looking for those. Is Google missing them? You're watching the sitemap in Google Search Console. The 404s are in Google Search Console as well. Right. So you're watching the 404s. You're going to be watching both mobile and desktop, folks. By the way, there's tabs on that. So if you look at the top in Search Console, you'll see mobile and desktop. So you want to check both, and obviously analytics. In analytics, make little annotations. If you don't, Google, how do I make annotations in Google Analytics? And make an annotation saying went live, et cetera, just so you know. Because who knows what could happen down the road, and someone needs to do forensics on it. You want those notes. So back to Search Console, you're monitoring crawl rates, you're checking your sitemaps, make sure they're working. All of that. You want to keep an eye on it. Even parameters. Oftentimes we find stuff there. Like, the developer was supposed to make everything SEO, search engine friendly URLs. We go to the parameters page and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what are these? So you'll find stuff in there. So post, and again, if you're setting up multivariate or split testing, things of that nature, great idea. Maybe split test the old homepage against the new, things of that nature. But so much of it is that post launch time that you really have to be watching like a hawk. And obviously revenues and things of that nature. If you don't have your e-commerce hooked up to Google Analytics or whatever you're using, do it now.
And there again, it rolls back to really having to have that SEO person on hand, because especially in post, because we can diagnose where the issues are and, pretty much make a pretty good fix and wait for Google to make the next move,
Well, and that's it. Like, the e-commerce kind of data, you're not going to really have anything to look at for a week or so. And
right.
Whereas the SEO data, like you're talking about, you don't have a week or so. It's like literally, I'm got a guy last night contacted me. Said, Dave, can I hire you for a couple hours? And I was okay, sure. What's up? He's like, we changed the site. We did the 301s. They seem to be okay. They did Screaming Frog on it, everything else, but Google's not indexing them, and so, all hell's breaking loose, and these are the kind of things that happen in the first week. There is no such thing as a perfect launch. Never seen one. Yeah. There's going to be things, and you want to nail them all down, It's like a new house. I think you buy a new house, there's still going to be things you got to fix. Personalize, tweak.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Search Talk Live with hosts Robert O'Haver and Kayla McKelvin. We appreciate you tuning in today. We are sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies. That's the Robert Palmer family of companies. You can go to robertpalmercompanies.com. Check out everything they have to offer. We are with David Harry today of the SEO Training Dojo, talking about website redesign and everything that entails. So if you have your questions, you can hit us up on Twitter at Search Talk Live, or you can email one of us, Robert at Search Talk Live or Caleb at SearchTalkLive.com.
David, I got a question from a listener on email here. They want to know if they do a redesign, is this a good time to look at pages that are not getting any traffic and possibly just axing them? I mean, well, I'm paraphrasing here, but
I'm a big believer in downsizing. You know, there's two considerations. One, does the page have any links? Meaning, does it have any equity of its own?
Right.
Two, it doesn't. So let's go with number 2 first, which is it has no external links. It's literally getting all of its equity being passed through the site. You're actually passing page rank to a page that might be useless.
Right.
You know, and, you know, you start to get bloats and so on. So, no, yeah, e-commerce or informational, I don't think it really matters. Well, e-commerce especially. Like, you know, if you're not selling a product, you need it there. Yeah. It's one more thing that you don't need to worry about. Informational-wise, you know, what is that page? You know, is it outdated? Was it a temp? Like, blogs need trimming all the time. Like, you know, there's temporal content, and what I mean by that is content that's specific to an event. You know, if that's not getting any search traffic, things of that nature, no, I'd say I'd redirect them, and definitely if they've got links to them, you definitely want to redirect them.
And another thing,
if there's no links to it, you could probably just kill that page.
Yeah,
you know, because there's a misnomer that like 404s are bad and Google hates them. Yeah. Well, no, if you know 90% of your site's 404s, Google might not be happy. But you know, if you've got like, you know, I talked to a guy the other day who was asking me in a consulting meeting that, you know, is this bad, these 404s? And I was like, well, how many do you have? He's like 1,000. How many pages you got? 150,000. I was like, no, it's like 0.8% or something. I'm like, no, you're fine. Yeah. So. No, yeah, you definitely, it's a great time to start trimming content or trimming products or trimming pages that aren't getting any value. And again, if that page has links, hey, but you are seeing a high bounce rate. Like it's the kind of information that's no longer relevant. Like computer books. Yeah. You talk to any any bookstore, and they say, "Why don't you have any computer books?" They're like, "Because it's outdated in 3 months." So, if it's that kind of content, then certainly, yeah, redirect it to something relevant to it or to the top category above it. Same with products.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say too is if it's a piece of content that's got a lot of links to it, chances are, and it's evergreen, chances are it's good information. You could refresh that content and, you know, redirect
it. Oh, definitely. That is definitely another option. We advise this a lot, and it can really move stuff, move the needle. Which is, if it's that kind of evergreen stuff that is just slowly lost visibility over time. Yeah, adding stuff to it will give you pop in Google every time. You know, update it with some new information or something of that nature. That'll give it some good pop. So, yeah, that's also a good point. Maybe try that if it's an informational site, it's evergreen kind of content or some of that nature. You might want to try. What he's saying there as far as adding some stuff and see if that gives it a pop. If it doesn't, then
yeah, because I mean, like if it's already got links to it and you're 301ing those links to the new article or the refreshed article, then you've already got some juice there.
No, I wouldn't even refresh it. I'd use the same one.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely. Add to that page. It works like a charm.
Okay.
Yep. No. Anything else? That's our only question?
Yeah, that was the only one I got per email. Nothing in the chat. You can hashtag Search Talk Live in Twitter if you have a question. We will address it. We are monitoring the chat, Twitter right now. And Caleb, you got any questions?
Well, no. I just know that we kind of hit a lot going on with the redesign, but I know that David is also a Google patent expert. Is that correct?
Well, yeah.
I like how that.
Hold on.
I'm a computer science geek that didn't go to Stanford.
Hold on. Can I re-say that? You're a seasoned Google patent expert.
Oh, now we're getting there.
There we go. So, is there anything new going on in that area?
Well, again, nothing's new there because any patent or paper you're looking at is something some guy had an idea about 2.5 or 3 years ago, and then slowly started working on as a Google project, this and that. So, I think we were talking before the show, and really. Patents and papers are more about understanding the mindset of how, search evolves and how search works. And I used to, get very frustrated because I equate an SEO that doesn't know information retrieval to a web developer that doesn't know HTML. Meaning most SEOs don't even know how search engines actually work.
Yeah.
Which is kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
I was lucky. I met Bill Slosky 10 years ago, and I got to debug, so to speak. He back then Rand was into the patents and stuff too. He just went another direction, but so yeah, you learn about how search engines work. You learn how they think. You learn, there's, the happiest, I could have kissed Matt Cutts, because the happiest day of my life was back in 2010 when they started spanking people with manual penalties, and then later came Panda and Penguin and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because before then, guys like myself and my partner Terry, we tried teaching people technical SEO.
Right.
The high level stuff. And they'd say, well, why do we have to do that? We just throw some links at it. And pretty much before 2010, that was true. So, we just sit there and look at them and go, yeah, whatever. Why should you learn it? Because it's, how this works. But these days, you need it. You have to, So I encourage people to not just patents and papers, but understand information retrieval. Like, there's even free courses out there. There's tons of YouTube videos of various lectures being given, and it can be tough to get your head around at first. Like, I was watching some stuff on word vectors, which is kind of the machine learning stuff behind RankBrain.
Yeah.
And it's tough to get your head around. You might have to, even me, I've been studying this stuff for 10 years, and even I have to rewind that a bit and go, what
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're a math whiz, some of it's tough to get. But understanding how these things work, how machine learning is going to affect things. Like I even collect, I literally collect patents and keep them in a database in the SEO Training Dojo since 2008. Literally, when I do these roundups, you can almost see what Google's thinking about how many, because I categorize them into mobile and geolocal and, behavioral and semantics and things of that nature. And it's amazing. Like, you start to see them. Wow, there's 10 times as many mobile patents as there is anything else. It's like, okay, so it must be up here where there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Right.
And it starts to give you a sense. Okay, where is Google going, and what are they doing? And in almost in the aggregate, you can start to see that. So any patent themselves. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say that's what I get out of it. I mean, that way you can see and kind of look forward as to what path Google is going on, and kind of get into that mindset ahead of time. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and how they do things.
Right.
How does, like, part of the road that led down the path from RankBrain, which was this word vector stuff called Word to Vec. Google also had a paper out on paragraph to Vec.
Mm-hmm.
Now, essentially, I know you were saying we got a small business audience, so I'm going to keep it simple. Essentially, all they're doing, folks, is turning words into vectors. Traditional semantic analysis of your page or your whatever, your document, would go along the lines of looking at words. Even phrase-based stuff would look at, sets of words. Whereas now they're kind of trying to turn them into vectors, which are a numerical representation of a word. So, I'm going to simplify this. If yellow is 0.029 vector and blue is 0.28, means they're close to each other because they're colors.
Right.
So why they're doing that is because it goes into machine learning. It's easier to process this information faster and hold more data. So, patents, you start looking at this kind of stuff and you realize, okay, well, we're going this way. So what does that mean? Well, what that means in realistic terms is that the paragraph to vector stuff, keyword stuffing and things of that nature don't make any sense anymore. Like, literally changes the world of how you target words and phrases, because now they're relative to each other as opposed to synonymous with each other or identical or stemmings. Stemmings is like a plural, et cetera, et cetera. So you start to realize this is how I need to, if you're still 5 years behind creating content with stuffing and did I have my keywords in there? Did we have this and that? Oh, wait, no, good stuff. You're in the wrong direction because we're moving towards the world of natural language.
Right.
So natural language means you want to stay out of your writer's way. Say, here's the topic I want you to cover, Mr. Content Developer, and that's it. Back off.
Right.
Yeah.
They're writers. They're going to write in a way that Google's going to understand that humans are, like, we're finally at a point where you can literally write for humans without having to worry if Google's going to rank that or so on, or understand that and so on and so on. You were finally getting to that point now where you can finally turn your copywriter loose and Google will lead it up.
Right.
It's even like eHow must hate this stuff because eHow would fill their setup with 20 ways to ask a question.
Yeah, I remember back in the day there used to be a joke. An SEO walks into a bar, a pub, a nightclub.
Yeah.
It's no longer relevant.
Right. Well, auto is the same as car.
Yeah.
In a simple, a simplistic sense. Auto becomes car now. And we even saw that with Hummingbird. Like when Hummingbird came out 2013, we noticed two things. One, that the query classification, meaning how Google understands a query, wasn't as specific, meaning it was looking at not only synonyms but relative meanings.
Right.
Had changed. Also, certain 1- and 2-word phrases, Google was showing a broader mix of informational, transactional listings and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So they continue to evolve. And again, this is what comes from patents, is watching how they're doing things, not as much like saying, "Oh, I read this patent," and yeah. Well, I was going to say so. I won't go there. There was a certain SEO that went on stage in SEO London. I think it was maybe 2011 or something like that, 2012, at SMX London. And he had read a post from my buddy Bill Slosky that morning, and he jumped on stage and pretty much canceled half of his presentation.
Oh, God.
And started to say, "Well, this is what you got to do," and this and that. And I remember talking to Bill at the time, and Bill was like, "Oh, my God, no. Please, no." It was like, oh, God. Because, it's not, we don't take them as literal, guys like Bill and I. We don't look at patents in a literal sense of this specific method.
Right.
Because, again, I've got a database full of, I get, someone goes, "Hey, Dave, yeah, you got any patents on internal linking?" Yeah, here's 20. Have fun. like, pick which one you think they're using. It's, it doesn't work like that. So it's more about understanding the variables. And I think when you study information retrieval over time, it imprints on you. I like anything else we do. It imprints on you, and you look at that and you see Google doing something, then you look at your data and you test your data and you make an experiment, you do something and you go, "Wow, okay, that's kind of like that. What was that patent?" And then you go back and read it. It's almost like a database of knowledge in my head that I go by when I see it cause and effect. Because I'm looking for cause and effect to reproduce it. You're like, okay, great. Whatever we did last month increased search traffic by 10%. How do I reproduce that? What caused it? Now, if you don't know how a search engine works, if you're reading the Moz ranking factors report every year, then you don't know anything. You're literally just the same as anyone else throwing it against the wall to see if it sticks. Mm-hmm. Now, if you've got some education and understanding of information retrieval, at least from Google, and again, I look at Microsoft patents and, I look at YouTube patents, or Google's video patents, but same thing. It helps you understand what you're looking at. If you're looking at a problem on a site, you're like, if it's a problem where they're losing traffic, or if it's a client who wants to increase traffic, either way, if you're looking at that and you're basing that on something you read on some SEO blog or wherever, I don't think you're doing yourself or your client a service. I think when you have that understanding of how search engines work, you can now critically think for yourself, look at that site and say, okay, well, here's what I think will improve it, or here's what I think the problem is. Yeah. Try implementing, a hypothesis and see what happens. But if you don't have that knowledge of how a search engine works, I don't know how most guys do this job, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I know how my world is from studying this stuff for 10 years.
A lot of sleepless nights.
No, this stuff will put you to sleep.
No, I mean for the other guys that are going, "Oh my God, what's wrong?"
Well, yeah, how do you do it? Like, where do you start? Like, granted, if you've got experience, that's great, but even experience is going to come from trial and error. Yeah. And what did you start basing that on? Mm-hmm. Like, literally, you just said, well, I read this in a blog, I think I'll give it a go. Oh, that didn't work. Sorry, I'm going to charge you for another month while I play around with your site, okay? Where does that come from? So, yeah, I understand that most people don't really want to, most even my friends go, "Hey, I found this really cool patent." "Yeah, that's good. I'll wait till you and Bill write about it, okay?" Most people I know won't read them either. So
yeah, that'd be a great, you and Bill get together and you, for April and do like this patent. We found this in a patent. You know.
Oh, we do that every time, all the time. Actually, I do a show on Fridays through the SEO Dojo. It's a Google Hangout.
Yeah.
And Bill's there. Bill's there most Fridays. And yeah, if we find something interesting, we'll tear into it and things. So, but yeah, so you get to be fly on the wall with me and Bill. It's always fun.
Yeah, I'd like that.
But yeah, he may be a couple of years younger than me, but I still consider him my senior. Bastard. Hey, it's
you're seasoned. He's senior. Huh?
Yeah, well, he's been at it a lot longer.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you know, again, that side of thing is part of your education, or it should be. You know, I think so, at least a cursory knowledge. You know, like, do you know how many flavors of PageRank there are? You know, there's like topical sensitive PageRank. There's personalized PageRank. I've seen papers and patents on so many flavors of PageRanks. Every time an SEO goes, well, it's because the PageRank isn't passed through the site. And I'm like, oh my God, do you even know what you're talking about? You don't, do you? You just read it on a blog somewhere. It sounds good, doesn't it? It's like, okay. Yeah. But, you know, I guess going back to that, experience is everything too. Like, you know, there is, you know, reach out, never be afraid. Like, that's why I love about having my community. Is that I hang around a lot of veterans, and some of them have been at it longer than me, since like 96 and stuff like that. You know, back when we had Lycos and Hotbot, and we were optimizing for like 20 different. Well, we were spamming. Let's be honest. Back then, everybody was spamming the hell.
Yeah. Whatever worked, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, your education's important, and I think, folks, again, you were saying a lot of small business people listening. Folks, I have had to clean up so many messes of so many people that come to me, and I actually got out of forensics after, you know, about a year and a half. I still do it once in a while, but it's not full time, because literally my life was depressing, because every client I had was losing their house, or their kid couldn't go to college, or this. It was nothing but sob stories, you know, because of some SEO or some developer screwed up their site or did something wrong, and now Google spanked them, and they're crying the blues. Yeah. You know, so my good friend Terry and my partner, he's a gruff one, but he does make a point when he says that, you know, people vet a lawyer, they vet an accountant, they vet other parts that are important to their business. Well, you better vet your SEO, because he can destroy your business as well as help it. And you know, this is, you know, a developer, maybe to a sense, you can still go and hire another one to fix that problem. But, you know, once a mistake is made on SEO, it takes you a while to get back in Google's graces, and that could be too late.
Yeah, and
that could be too long.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in the industry for a long time, and we're still learning every single day.
You never stop.
No.
None of us, you know, how many clients can any of us handle at any one time?
Right.
You know, 3, 4, 5. How many different markets? 2, 3, 4. You know, how many different clients? Because every client, I never do cookie cutter SEO. I don't believe in that. 8 minutes. This is going to be tough. Okay. So cookie cutter SEO, folks, is when you take a formula and you apply it to every site you run into. Does not happen. Does not work.
No.
And literally, I've worked with sites. I do a lot of automotive stuff lately, last couple of years. I've literally worked with 2 different automotive people. Even the companies are different budgets, different staff, different resources. Never mind different markets altogether. You know, which it could be e-commerce, could be information, it doesn't matter. They're all different and unique, different query spaces, different target terms. Nothing is the same. Mm-hmm. You can't apply one theory to everything. You know?
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just clearing my throat. I was talking myself dry there. I get so excited about this stuff.
I have another email here.
All right.
They're asking, is SEO for you becoming harder because of nothing is exact match anymore, along with the advent of mobile and more natural speaking search queries?
I'd say more complex, not harder. It certainly is more complex than it used to be, but I like that challenge. I enjoy that. So, you know, and again, I have this sort of base of knowledge from experience, from studying information retrieval, from having a community of people that I can go and ask questions to at any given time that it may have experienced a situation I haven't. So harder for the general person, I would say, yeah. You know what I mean? It is, you know, we used to say that because we could throw links at anything, we used to say that the internet was the leveler, that the little guy could compete. You still can, but the only way you can compete these days is by being more nimble than the big guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because a big corporation, I give him advice, it takes him 3 months to implement it. Whereas a little guy, he can get that in there and get those changes made and implement something rather quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's more complex because you got more stuff. You got schema, you've got AMP, you've got, you know, how Google's treating queries and how you're targeting terms, how you're going about all that. You've got more complex data available to you through analytics and Search Console. So there's more things to look at and watch and dig into. So far more complex than it ever was, which is fine. Yeah, you know, it's probably going to cost you a bit more as far as your SEO guy goes, or maybe hiring 2 if you want to build a little team. So that part, if you're going to do it right, probably is a little more expensive, a little more complex, but harder. I don't think so. That's a strategy thing. If it's a large corporate client, I really don't care because they've got 2 million links. So, you know, I'm just focusing a strategy. If it's a small business, then I have to take the art of war route, which is, you know, don't go head to head with the big boys on the big terms. You got to plan a strategy that's sort of lateral and go to their weak points where they're not focused. You know, and make your money there. And as a small business, when you do that lateral approach and you attack them strategically in their weak spots, meaning longer tail terms, things of that nature, you want to definitely have a user-friendly site that pulls them around the site. You know, you want to get them on mailing lists. You want to get them on your Facebook and other ways you can interact with them, because that's how you're going to keep them.
Right.
That's, you know, that data over in Google Analytics for new and returning visitors. You want to watch that, because as a small business, that returning visitor number and the revenue, set up custom reports for the revenues you're making off those, becomes extra more important. Meaning that you may, again, it is harder in a sense because you have to strategically change how you're doing things as a small business. But once you get them in the door from search, you've got to do some brand lift and make sure you get them on your other channels and retain those people. Because, you're not going to get as many because you're not getting those big numbers from those head terms anymore because you're a small guy. So you have to treat them extra super careful and make sure you show them love and keep them around. You know?
Absolutely. Now we have about 3 minutes left. I have another question here on Twitter. The person is saying they've gone to 3 different SEO consultants, and because her website is on Wix, they have either told her to do a redesign, and they did not want to do SEO work for her.
Yeah. A lot of these platforms like Wix and stuff are very limiting for SEO guys. You know, there's not a lot we can mess with and change. Like I know with BigCommerce, like I changed the title tag right, on a page. It changes the URL. It's like, oh god. So some of these platforms can be very challenging. And unfortunately, you know, it may be something to consider, but it all depends. What was her name again? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
What was her name?
Kelly.
Kelly, you can consider it a change, but I guess it depends on the type of site you have. You know, are you making money from it? Is it worth it for you to do that? If you're not making money, if it's just sort of a part-time thing you're doing, then, you know, I'm be happy to help you and let me know. And there's Wix, there's only so much you can do. So I know that frustrates a lot of SEOs, that they're going to feel like they didn't accomplish much because they didn't have much to work with.
Yeah.
So it depends on the kind of site. You know, you might want to consider moving if it's making you some money. If not, just, you know, get a hold of someone that actually will at least say, hey, you know. And I'm sure if you Google how to optimize SEO, search engine optimize a Wix site, you could find enough basic stuff to get you there. Again, I think that's going to depend on what the site is and what you're doing with it. Yeah. But a lot of these platforms you might need to move.
Okay, well, we're out of time. I want to thank you for coming on the show, David.
Yes.
I really appreciate all your knowledge and helping and sharing and helping other people. I appreciate that.
Anytime, guys.
Yeah, and we'll catch you on another day. Thanks for listening. Yeah, man, thank you very much. Thanks for listening to Search Talk Live, folks. Come in, tune in. I can't talk today. Tune in every Tuesday, 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. Be sure and visit Search Talk Live to get past previous shows. You can sign up to our newsletter. Like I said, there's always special offers, that type of thing. You can catch us on iTunes and Sprecher and also iHeartRadio.
Yes.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for your support. We'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Search Talk Live is a presentation of the Robert Palmer family of companies.